Morning spreads slowly across the alien valley. The glowing plants shimmer softly beneath the strange sky. Captain Mercer stands beside the crashed aircraft, studying the tracks leading away from the wreck. Fresh footprints, human. Sergeant Rains kneels beside them. One person, he says, moving fast. Lieutenant Alvarez checks the aircraft again. No bodies inside. Dr. Morozova examines the scattered equipment. The pilot must have survived the crash. Professor Lucas Chen studies the direction of the footprints. They're heading toward the mountains. Captain Mercer nods. Then that's where we're going. The group follows the trail through the glowing plants. The alien valley slowly rises into rocky hills. The vegetation becomes thicker. Strange trees grow taller here, their branches glowing faintly. After nearly an hour, Rains suddenly raises his hand. Stop! Everyone freezes. Ahead, something stands in the clearing. A human figure, wearing a flight suit. The pilot? He stands motionless near a large stone formation. But something about him feels wrong. Captain Mercer steps forward carefully. Pilot, are you all right? The man slowly turns toward them. His face is pale, his eyes distant, as if he has seen something impossible. Finally, he speaks. You shouldn't have come here. Sergeant Rains frowns. What are you talking about? The pilot points toward the mountains. Beyond the hills, a faint blue glow pulses in the distance. Another gate, but it is far larger than the others. Professor Chen whispers in awe. That's not a normal portal. The pilot shakes his head slowly. No, that's the central gate. Silence spreads across the alien valley. Captain Mercer looks toward the distant glowing structure. What happens there? The pilot's voice drops to a whisper. That's where the builders went. And where something else came through. The wind moves quietly through the glowing plants. Captain Mercer studies the exhausted pilot standing before them. You came through the gate like we did, Mercer says. The pilot nods slowly. But not from your time. Sergeant Rains frowns. What does that mean? The pilot takes a slow breath. My name is Daniel Hayes, United Earth Exploration Command. Professor Chen looks puzzled. I've never heard of that organization. The pilot gives a faint, tired smile. You wouldn't. It doesn't exist yet. Silence spreads across the valley. Captain Mercer studies him carefully. What year did you leave Earth? The pilot hesitates, then answers quietly. 2087. Sergeant Rains lowers his rifle slightly. That's 60 years in the future. Professor Chen's eyes widen with realization. The gate network, it bends time as well as space. The pilot nods. Exactly. He points toward the distant mountains where the faint blue glow pulses. The central gate controls the entire network. Your world only discovered the first one, but in my time we learned there are hundreds. Captain Mercer looks toward the glowing horizon. So why were you flying here? The pilot's face darkens. Because something came through that gate. The wind across the alien valley suddenly feels colder. Dr. Morozova steps closer. What do you mean? The pilot stares toward the distant mountains. In our time, the central gate opened. And something crossed into our universe. Professor Chen's voice becomes quiet. From another world? The pilot slowly shakes his head. No. From somewhere far worse. The valley grows quiet again. Only the soft glow of the alien plants lights the ground. Captain Mercer watches the pilot carefully. You said something came through the central gate. Pilot Hayes nods slowly. In my time, we discovered the gate network only 20 years ago. Professor Chen listens closely. You learned how to control it. Not exactly, Hayes replies. We learned how to monitor it. He kneels and draws a triangle in the glowing soil. The central gate is different from the others. It's the oldest, the largest, and it connects to regions of space we still don't understand. Sergeant Rains crosses his arms. So what came through? Hayes hesitates. For a moment he seems unsure whether to answer. Then he speaks quietly. Something alive. The wind moves through the glowing plants. Professor Chen's voice lowers. A creature? Hayes shakes his head slowly. Not a creature like the predators. Something much bigger. Captain Mercer studies him carefully. How big? Hayes looks toward the distant mountains. Big enough to move between worlds. Silence spreads across the clearing. Dr. Morozova finally asks the question everyone is thinking. Did it come to Earth? Hayes nods once. Yes. And we lost contact with 3 cities before the gate closed again. The team exchanges uneasy glances. Professor Chen whispers, so the gate network isn't just a transportation system. Hayes nods grimly. It's a doorway. And we don't know what lives on the other side. Captain Mercer looks again toward the distant glow of the central gate. Then we better get there before it opens again. Morning breaks across the alien valley. The distant mountains glow faintly under the rising light of the strange suns. Captain Mercer studies the horizon. That's where we're going. Pilot Hayes nods. The central gate is somewhere beyond those peaks. Sergeant Rains checks his rifle. Then we better move before the predators return. The 2 expeditions gather their equipment. The survivors from 1953 carry their improvised tools. Mercer's team prepares their remaining supplies and weapons. Soon the group begins moving across the valley. The glowing plants ripple beneath their boots as they climb into the rocky hills. Hours pass. The terrain becomes rougher. Strange stone formations rise from the ground. Professor Chen stops suddenly. Look at this. Half buried in the soil stands a massive triangular structure. Black stone, perfectly smooth, the same geometry as the gates. Captain Mercer brushes dust from the surface. These ruins weren't made by nature. Chen nods slowly. The builders were here. More structures appear as they move deeper into the hills. Broken pillars, collapsed arches, fragments of enormous machines. Ancient technology scattered across the alien landscape. Pilot Hayes studies the ruins quietly. In my time, we found similar structures on other worlds. Professor Chen looks surprised. Other worlds have gate ruins too, Hayes nods. Yes. It means the builders traveled everywhere in the network. Sergeant Rains scans the silent ruins. If they built all this, where did they go? No one answers. The wind moves through the empty structures. Far above the mountains, a faint blue glow pulses again. The central gate is waking. The team moves slowly through the ancient ruins. Broken triangular pillars rise from the ground like silent monuments. Fragments of strange black stone lie scattered across the valley floor. Professor Lucas Chen runs his hand along one of the surfaces. The material hasn't aged. Captain Mercer studies the structure. These ruins could be thousands of years old. Sergeant Rains scans the shadows between the pillars. Then where are the builders? The wind moves softly through the empty structures, but the silence feels unnatural. Lieutenant Alvarez suddenly raises her scanner. It's detecting movement. Everyone freezes. Where? Mercer asks quietly. Alvarez points toward a collapsed structure nearby. Inside that chamber, the group moves carefully toward the opening. The entrance is half buried beneath fallen stone. Sergeant Rains leads the way, rifle raised. Inside the chamber, the air feels colder. Faint blue light glows from thin lines running along the walls. Professor Chen whispers in awe. The builders use the same energy patterns as the gates. Suddenly, a scraping sound echoes from deeper inside the structure. Metal against stone. Sergeant Rains stops. You hear that? The sound comes again. Slow, heavy. Something is moving inside the ruins. Captain Mercer signals the team to spread out. The ancient figure stands motionless in the chamber. Blue energy pulses slowly across its surface. Captain Mercer raises his hand. No sudden movements. Sergeant Rains keeps his rifle ready, but does not fire. Professor Lucas Chen studies the being with amazement. It's alive! The creature tilts its head slightly. Its glowing eyes examine each member of the team. Then something unexpected happens. The blue lines along the walls brighten. A soft vibration fills the chamber. Suddenly, a voice echoes inside their minds, not spoken aloud, but clear, ancient. Travelers from many times. The team looks around in shock. Dr. Morozova whispers, "Did you hear that?" Professor Chen nods slowly. "It's communicating with us." The glowing figure takes a slow step forward. "You arrive through the gates, as others have before." Captain Mercer speaks carefully. "We came from Earth." The creature pauses. "Earth, the young world." Professor Chen's eyes widen. "You know our planet?" The being lifts one long arm. Holographic light spreads across the chamber. Stars appear above them. Hundreds of glowing triangles connect distant worlds. The same network they saw on the metal plate. "We built the gate so knowledge could travel between civilizations." The image changes. The explorers see ancient worlds connected by the network. For many ages, the gates brought peace. Then the image darkens. Stars disappear. New shapes appear in the projection. Enormous shadows moving between the gates. Then something else discovered the network. The chamber grows colder. Captain Mercer asks quietly, "What happened to the builders?" The glowing figure lowers its head. "Most of us are gone." The gates became pathways for hunters. The image shifts again. A massive shape crosses one of the portals. The same presence Pilot Hayes described. Professor Chen whispers, "The creature from the central gate." The ancient being nods slowly. It hunts through the network of worlds. Silence spreads through the chamber. Captain Mercer finally asked the question none of them wanted to say aloud. "Can it reach Earth?" The ancient builder looks toward the distant mountains, where the central gate glows faintly. "If the gate awakens again, your world will be next." The chamber grows silent after the builder's warning. For several seconds, no one moves. Captain Mercer finally speaks. "Then we have to stop it." The ancient builder turns slowly toward the open entrance of the ruins. The glowing lines along its body begin to pulse faster. Professor Chen notices immediately. "What is it sensing?" The builder's voice echoes again inside their minds. "The gate is stirring." Pilot Hayes steps forward quickly. "That's impossible. In my time, the central gate only opened once." The glowing symbols along the chamber walls begin to flicker. The vibration in the ground grows stronger. Sergeant Rains looks toward the doorway. "Captain, the mountains." Everyone turns. Far beyond the ruins, above the distant peaks, a powerful blue light suddenly rises into the sky. The enormous triangular outline of the one central gate begins to form. Lightning-like energy arcs across the clouds. The ground beneath the ruins trembles. Professor Chen stares in disbelief. "That gate is hundreds of meters wide." Pilot Hayes shakes his head. "No, bigger. In my time, we estimated nearly a kilometer." Captain Mercer grips his rifle. "And it's opening right now." The ancient builder moves toward the entrance of the chamber, its glowing eyes fixed on the distant light. The hunter follows the energy of awakening gates. The words send a chill through the group. Dr. Morozova whispers quietly, "You mean it's coming here?" The builder pauses. "It is already moving." A deep rumble echoes across the alien valley. Far above the mountains, the enormous portal continues expanding. Blue energy floods the sky like a rising storm. Captain Mercer turns to the team. "Then we don't have much time." Pilot Hayes looks toward the growing light of the gate. If it opens fully, every world connected to the network will be exposed. Sergeant Rains checks his weapon. Then let's get to that gate before whatever's hunting us does. The blue glow of the central gate grows brighter with every passing minute. Energy arcs through the clouds above the distant mountains. Captain Mercer turns from the ruins. "We move now." Sergeant Rains nods and signals the team forward. The group leaves the ancient chamber and steps into the open valley. Before them stretches a vast landscape filled with ruins. Broken triangular towers rise from the ground like silent sentinels. Fragments of ancient machines lie half buried in the glowing soil. Professor Chen stares in awe as they move between the structures. This entire valley was once a city. Pilot Hayes studies the horizon. "In my time, we called places like this builder sites." Dr. Morozova runs her hand across one of the fallen pillars. "Whatever civilization created the gates, it must have been enormous." The ground beneath their feet begins to vibrate again. Sergeant Rains stops. "Hold!" The vibration grows stronger. The glowing lines beneath the alien plants surge with light. Professor Chen looks toward the sky. "That's not coming from the gate." A distant roar rolls across the mountains. Low, deep, like thunder moving through the air. Pilot Hayes turns pale. "That sound." Captain Mercer looks at him sharply. "What is it?" Hayes stares toward the distant portal. "In the future, that's the sound the hunter made." The team freezes. High above the valley, the clouds begin to twist. A massive shadow moves slowly behind them. Something enormous is approaching the central gate, and the Valley of the Builders suddenly feels very small. The valley grows darker as clouds gather above the mountains. Blue lightning flickers around the rising central gate. Captain Mercer stops at the edge of the ruins. "Everyone look!" High above the distant peaks, the clouds begin to move in unnatural patterns. Not wind, something pushing through them. A massive shape slowly emerges from the storm. At first, it looks like a moving mountain. Then the shape spreads enormous wing-like structures across the sky. Sergeant Rains lowers his rifle slightly. "That can't be real." Professor Chen stares upward in shock. The creature moves silently between the clouds. Its body stretches for hundreds of meters. Dark armored plates cover its surface like living metal. Long arcs of blue energy flicker along its spine. Pilot Hayes whispers the word he hoped never to say again. "The hunter." The enormous creature circles slowly above the mountains, drawn toward the energy of the awakening gate. Captain Mercer studies the sky. If that thing reaches the portal, it could travel anywhere in the network. Dr. Morozova watches the shadow pass over the valley. "How do you stop something that size?" The ancient builder suddenly steps forward beside them. The glowing lines across its body pulse brighter. "The hunter cannot be destroyed." The team looks toward the ancient being. Sergeant Rains frowns. "Then what are we supposed to do?" The builder lifts its arm toward the distant gate. "The gate must be closed." Another thunderous roar rolls across the mountains. The colossal creature begins descending toward the glowing portal. Captain Mercer grips his rifle. "Then we'd better reach that gate first." The hunter circles above the mountains. Its enormous shadow drifts across the valley of ruins. Blue lightning flashes around the rising central gate. Captain Mercer turns to the team. "We don't have time to debate this. We move now." Sergeant Rains checks his rifle and leads the way. The group runs through the broken valley of the builders. Ancient towers pass on both sides like silent giants. Professor Chen struggles to keep pace while watching the glowing ground. "The energy levels are rising." Pilot Hayes points toward the mountains. "The gate is almost fully active." Lieutenant Alvarez checks her scanner while running. "Multiple energy spikes. The entire valley is reacting." Dr. Morozova helps one of the older survivors across a fallen pillar. Behind them, the sky rumbles again. The hunter descends lower through the storm clouds. Its enormous body twists through the lightning. For a moment, the creature's glowing spine illuminates the entire sky. Sergeant Rains glances upward. That thing's getting closer. Captain Mercer looks toward the distant mountains. At the center of the valley, a massive structure rises from the ground, an enormous triangular arch of black stone. The base of the central gate. Professor Chen stares in disbelief. It's bigger than anything the builders left behind. Energy flows across the ancient surface like rivers of blue fire. Pilot Hayes slows slightly. That's the control structure. If we reach it, we might be able to shut the gate down. The hunter roars above the clouds. The sound shakes the ruins beneath their feet. Captain Mercer points toward the glowing structure. Then that's our destination. The team runs faster through the valley, because above them the colossal shadow of the hunter is descending toward the same place, the central gate. The team reaches the enormous structure at the base of the central gate. Up close, the ancient arch rises like a mountain of black stone. Blue energy streams across its surface. The air vibrates with power. Captain Mercer gestures toward a dark opening beneath the arch. Inside, Sergeant Rains enters first, rifle raised. The others follow quickly. Inside the structure, the chamber is vast, hundreds of meters wide. The walls glow with the same blue energy lines seen in the ruins. Professor Chen stares upward. This entire place is a control system. At the center of the chamber stands a circular platform. Above it floats a massive triangular energy field, a smaller version of the gate itself. Pilot Hayes steps closer. This is the command node. In my time, we never found one intact. Lieutenant Alvarez scans the chamber. The energy readings are off the scale. Outside the structure, another thunderous roar echoes across the valley. The hunter is getting closer. Captain Mercer turns to the ancient builder. You said the gate can be closed. The glowing figure steps onto the platform. Blue light flows around its body. The gate was never meant to remain open. Professor Chen studies the symbols forming in the air. If we shut this down, the entire network might collapse. Pilot Hayes looks toward the glowing sky beyond the arch. If we don't shut it down, that thing reaches Earth. The chamber trembles violently. Dust falls from the ceiling. Sergeant Rains looks toward the entrance. Captain, we're running out of time. Outside the structure, the colossal shadow of the hunter passes across the valley. The ancient builder raises its arm toward the glowing control field. Prepare yourselves. The gate will resist. The ancient builder raises its arm toward the glowing control field. Blue light surges across the chamber. The triangular energy structure above the platform begins to rotate slowly. Symbols appear in the air like floating constellations. Professor Chen watches in amazement. It's rewriting the gate commands. Captain Mercer looks toward the entrance. Do it. The builder's voice echoes inside their minds. The gate must return to silence. Energy explodes across the platform. The entire chamber shakes violently. Outside the structure, the enormous central gate flickers. Its brilliant blue surface ripples like water. Sergeant Rains grabs a nearby pillar for balance. This place is coming apart. Lieutenant Alvarez checks her scanner. The energy field is destabilizing. Pilot Hayes watches the sky through the entrance. The hunter is descending. A massive shadow passes across the valley outside. The colossal creature approaches the portal. Closer, closer. Dr. Morozova grips her medical pack tightly. How long will this take? Professor Chen studies the shifting symbols. Minutes, maybe less. The ancient builder continues the shutdown sequence. Blue energy floods the chamber. Then something unexpected happens. The triangular control field suddenly flashes bright white. The builder pauses. For the first time, his voice sounds uncertain. The gate is resisting. Captain Mercer looks sharply at Chen. What does that mean? Chen's face turns pale. It means something on the other side is trying to keep it open. Outside the structure, the hunter roars. The sound shakes the mountains. The enormous creature spreads its wings as it dives toward the glowing portal. The central gate pulses with blinding light. The final battle for the gate network has begun. The control chamber trembles violently. Blue lightning surges across the walls of the ancient structure. The triangular control field above the platform begins collapsing inward. Professor Chen shouts over the noise. The shutdown sequence is working! Captain Mercer watches the sky through the open arch. Outside, the colossal hunter dives toward the central gate. Its enormous wings stretch across the storm clouds. Pilot Hayes shakes his head in disbelief. It's too fast. The ancient builder raises both arms. Energy floods the chamber. The gate will close. The glowing portal above the mountains flickers. For a moment, the blue light begins to fade. Sergeant Raines smiles grimly. Looks like we did it. Then everything changes. The triangular control field suddenly flashes bright white. Every symbol in the chamber explodes with light. Professor Chen stares in shock. That's not part of the shutdown. The ancient builder freezes. Its glowing eyes widen. For the first time, its voice sounds afraid. Something has entered the network. Outside, the central gate erupts with blinding energy. The hunter disappears into the portal. But the gate does not close. Instead, the entire control chamber begins to rotate. Gravity shifts. The floor tilts beneath their feet. Lieutenant Alvarez grabs a console. What's happening? Professor Chen looks at the swirling energy field. The realization hits him all at once. The shutdown triggered a network jump. Captain Mercer grips the platform railing. Jump to where? Chen stares at the glowing vortex forming above them. His voice drops to a whisper. I don't think we're going back to Earth. The chamber fills with light. The gate network activates again, and the entire structure begins to vanish.